Hey, this is Jeremy Burchard.
This is Jennica Scott.
We are Moonlight Social, and welcome to Scraping Through the podcast. I added the thing at the end. Do you want me to switch it up?
No,
it felt weird saying welcome to Scraping Through podcast.
I will leave all this. This is the intro.
This is the bump. Watch it. Watch it. Do it.
Well, welcome, guys. Welcome to Scraping Through. Do you want to give us a bit of intro about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Jeremy Burchard, and I am one half of a Nashville-based band called Moonlight Social.
My name is Jennica Scott, and I am the other half of a Nashville-based band called Moonlight Social.
Wow.
It could be a different band.
It could be a band.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
One.
We so just a little background about us. We met while we were in college, which in the States is what you guys call uni. I guess we also call it university sometimes, but mostly people just say college. And we went to the University of Texas at Austin. We met in the marching band there. She played trumpet. I was on the drum line, played the tenor drums. And then we just started hanging out, doing some cover songs. And, you know, one thing led to another. We played a show just like randomly before we ever decided to be a band. We just played at this little deli called New World Deli. And her parents came out, and it was real cute. And and then we just kind of, you know, one thing led to another. And eventually we toured out of there for a while, out of Texas for a while, which for anybody unfamiliar with the geography of the States, touring out of Texas is not easy because it's a massive state. And Austin is kind of centrally located. But that means that, you know, it takes you 5 hours in any direction to like get close to another state, basically. Whereas Nashville, which is where we moved eventually, you know, you can get to, 12 different states in 5 hours probably.
Yeah.
Like way more markets and stuff. So we moved up to Nashville partially for that, but also because we were meeting with a lot of folks, doing a lot of writing, doing a lot of producing and kind of changing our sound and evolving as we grew. So we've been here since 2016.
Nice. Awesome. And are you full-time musicians now? Or?
No, she still has her service industry gig, and I do a multitude of things. I try to make all my money from being creative. So for a long time, I did music journalism. I'll still do some writing here and there, but I'm trying to phase that out a little bit more into more film work. So I do a lot of like music videos for people, and I do, you know, commercial work, some real estate stuff. Basically, I went to school for writing and film, and so I'm fortunate that I'm able to like still use those skills in some way. And my goal is obviously to be full-time music, but the fact that I pay bills using like my other creative assets is kind of nice too.
Well, one thing that I think as musicians you can be somewhat happy about is the fact that there are so many platforms, even though we're restricted in a way that a typical gig would happen with people live performing, and I'm sure we're all waiting for that to happen again. You have so many platforms that you guys are on, and one being Twitch, which is where I found you. I was showing to someone what Twitch is, and I was explaining that it's not only for people playing video games, but also is for these artists dressed as carrots that are currently singing
exclusively. You must be a vegetable if you're gonna perform music.
Yeah, and just joined the stream and was super captivated and asked them to sing a song, and that's how we met Moonlight Social essentially. So why don't you tell us a bit about maybe Twitch, and then we can maybe move to the carrot, because I'm sure a lot of people are still thinking like, did he say a carrot? Or
Yeah, definitely. Well, Twitch was something that we just kind of like when we first dove into it. It was at the nudging of a friend, an acquaintance who had spent a lot of time getting familiar with Twitch, specifically from a music side. And so like, we were just kind of like, yeah, I mean, we can give this a shot. We were so used to doing live performances that at the time we weren't doing it because of COVID. Like we were just kind of checking it out, seeing what it was about and getting a chance to perform more without necessarily going on the road. And then when COVID happened and everything really shut down, we realized it's like, okay, this kind of is the chance to perform, right? But I also think that, and I'm sure you'd agree, and you would probably agree too. I know you guys haven't seen us play a live stage show, but it's a totally different beast. Like what we do on Twitch is not the same thing as what we do on stage. So it's really become its own version of a performance, you know?
Yeah, at first it kind of started off as an experiment. We had done a couple of like Facebook Live streams and stuff like that, but it never really stuck. And we would do it like once a week, we would try. So when everything shut down and we realized we weren't going to be able to tour or anything like that, we still wanted to find a way to interact with fans, to make new fans without going out into the world and convincing them. So we started doing it like 3 times a week. And at first I was really intimidated by Twitch. I didn't know what to do. And we would do live learns and I was like, I don't know this song. Like I'm going to mess it up. It's not going to be good. But it has taught me at least to like let up a little bit on myself and to make things our own. And I think that it's helped us grow as artists too, in the way that we collaborate with each other. But it's fun to be able to see, you know, the same group or a new group of people 3 times a week, not see them, but
yeah,
interact with them.
Like we went to a TwitchCon in 2019. Like we were still really early on in it, but I was like, I kind of was itching to get out of town, and it was in San Diego and it was easy. And she like kind of begrudgingly came along. She was like excited to go to San Diego, but not huge on conventions. I'm a nerd. I'm a fucking nerd. I'm sorry, I'm swearing on your podcast, but like, I'm like, yeah, panels and like fucking schedules. Like, let's do it. Let's go do some Q&A sessions.
Yeah.
And she's like, nah, but we came along and we had fun. Like we met with some people. That was a really great part, is meeting with other streamers, and some that we'd already known beforehand and some that we met there. And like, we'll totally go again, because when you kind of do, I think, get past that hurdle that she was talking about, like the intimidation, it's cool. It's a lot of like-minded folks, you know, especially in the music space. And when we do our live show on stage, we have it planned out. We have like segues and clips, and we don't talk until a certain point. And we try to be very like, you know, specific about putting on a genuine show. And when we do it on Twitch, it's just like fucking anything goes, like whatever. And that's the thing. She wants to, rightfully so, sound great and perform well on everything she does. Like most people would want to be that way. I have just blown past like all of my barriers to like my own image and just unearned confidence that even if I don't know the song or don't know the chords or I'm not singing it well, if I do it confidently enough, it'll still be entertaining. So that's kind of been my entire Twitch ethos.
You see Twitch still being like a core part of your lives, even once like COVID is over and live shows are back on? Is it something you're intending to continue?
Totally. Because like I said, it's like, this is not the same as a live show anymore. This is a totally different beast. And we get to reach people across the world for, you know, $0. We're sitting in the same room that we made our record in. And it's like, yeah, it will always be a different experience. And I think that's the best way for us to do it. Because if we ever start taking ourselves too seriously on Twitch, just slap us. Just reach through your screen and slap us.
You're our first overseas guest as well.
Oh, right on.
So really, really exciting. I actually had to Google where Nashville was, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nashville is, there's 3 major music cities. I mean, there's a couple, like Miami for certain things and New Orleans for certain things. But in terms of industry, there are 3 major cities in America for music, and that's LA, Nashville, and New York. And Nashville is so central, you know, and the other 2 are on opposite coasts, that a lot more of it's kind of funneling into Nashville because you can reach more people and get around faster by being here.
Was it a decision to move from Texas? Like, or was it something that was just a simple no-brainer for you?
We talked about it for a couple of weeks before we actually made the decision, but we had been making trips up to Nashville. One of our managers moved here, and so, like I said before, we were doing a lot of business meetings and co-writes, and it was around December of 2015 that we sat down and we were like, okay, let's sit down, let's have a breakfast. Let's talk about what we're going to do in 2016. What are our options? Like, how are we going to further our brand? And we kind of came down to the decision that we were more productive in Nashville than we were in Texas. When we got back to Texas, we felt like we were kind of spinning our wheels, waiting for the next trip to Nashville to go do more productive things. And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, so should we move to Nashville?
Yeah. And truthfully, like, we got to this point where we were playing shows to pay our band, meaning like the guys who would go out and play with us, guys and gals, depending on, the lineup, would go out and play with us, and like we would have to pay them because they didn't own any stock of the music, right? Like we put in the work because the more the brand makes, the bigger the assets, the more the music streams and all that kind of stuff. Like the more close we are to making this our full-time gig. But for them, it's just like, they get paid when they play. And so we found ourselves like, instead of touring to build our brand, like taking shows to pay people. And that was one of our first big realizations, that I think it's like, this is like a trap, and there's a lot of artists in Texas who kind of fall into that trap, and a lot of them end up doing quite well. And that's their whole thing. They just tour Texas. Like it's a huge cliche. And we realized pretty closely that, we weren't close to being that, but we definitely were ready for a challenge, and moving to Nashville felt like a challenge in a good way.
Such a brave move. Em and I talk about moving to the capital of podcasts in someday when we work out where that place is.
I was about to say, what is the capital of podcasts?
We'll find out one day, and we'll work out how we get there. But yeah, it's such a big life change to kind of uproot for your passion. It's such an admirable thing to do.
And so, Moonlight Social was born when you moved to Nashville. And who was I would say, like, why Moonlight Social? Mm-hmm. What does it represent for you?
So I would say I wouldn't say it was born so much as like reborn, which is a dumb dramatic way of saying it, but it was like Moonlight Social 2.0, right? And honestly, if I'm being super honest, I think the record that we just put out recently and everything like that's Moonlight Social 3.0. Like, we are finally getting to a point where we are very comfortable in our art. Like we've always made stuff that we liked and believed in, but we're getting further and further, and it's not hard to see in the progression of our careers and our songs and what we write about, just how much we've started to embrace some of these, additional themes, alternative ideas. I mean, it sounds dumb, but like even, swearing in songs and stuff like that. And like we started out trying to be ourselves, but to fit into a box. And even when we started out, like radio play and stuff was still on the table. Like we had our songs on the radio in Texas, and you got to play by a certain set of rules for all that. And everything has changed so much that at this point we're just like, fuck it, like be entirely ourselves 100% of the way. And that's like Moonlight Social 3.0. So the name itself, I don't think has changed. The name was based off of this like concept of hanging out late at night with your pals, and you just have like the most honest conversations in your life, right? Like you're like laying on the floor or whatever, you're laughing about dumb shit, whatever it is, like you're in your element, you feel comfortable talking about things that you don't typically talk about. And so we were like, we want our band to represent that feeling. And so Jennica, I originally came up with a list of ones, and we found several that were taken already by like shitty New Jersey metal cover bands and stuff. And so Jennica came up with the term Moonlight. We knew that we wanted the word social in there. Jennica came up with Moonlight to replace like Midnight and a couple of the different ones. And so that's what we went with.
I see. So it was like midnight. It wasn't like, let's try midnight, let's try 1 a.m., 2 a.m. They're all taken.
I mean, phonetically, 3 a.m. social, I don't know, it doesn't sound as good. Ice cream social. You
said something that I would love to pick up, which is, I feel like it's such a part of being a musician, which is growing, well, pass me the term growing up, where you use the term progressing in your music. And you see a lot of like big bands getting sometimes like a bit of hate as well from their fan base when they see their band changing their style, and sometimes they cop out saying you're just doing what your label is telling you to do, and instead of thinking that it's actually the artist is changing. How much do you think, like, in for a musician is important to just adapt to their element and finding their style and evolving, rather than sticking to what, what you're known for, or what you originally conceived as your own style and music?
I think there's something to be said for finding what you're good at and just continuing to do that. But Jeremy and I are not that kind of person. So for me, at least, us progressing in our music, it makes us consistently get a little bit better. And I don't ever want to be complacent in what we create and put out stuff that we're like, yeah, this is good. Like, I want to put out great things. I want to put out the best version of every song that we write. And if we do that, I don't want to put out another one of those. I want to do something better or different. I feel like progressing in your music is giving yourself the ability to practice and to grow.
Yeah. Well, and like for us, if you listen to a lot of like the older bands, especially when they're getting started out, whether it's like the Eagles or the Beatles, even though I'm not a huge Beatles fan, or Queen is a great example. Like all of these bands, like album to album, song to song, there were so many variations to what they did. And part of what made them so interesting is you didn't quite know what you were going to get, right? But you trusted that if Freddie Mercury was singing it, it was going to sound good. And if, Don Henley was writing it, the lyrics were going to be clever. So like that is something that I personally have always kind of wanted to be more when it comes to what we make, because like I like a lot of different types of music, and we realize that if we sit down and write a record where the opening track is a 10-minute short story followed by a rock opera followed by basically a pop punk song, and we progress into variations of pop and all of these different kind of things, but we tie it together with a relatively common voice, meaning how we write songs, and then common voice physically, meaning our voices, that I think people like to be surprised a little bit by artists. And to get to your original question, like there is a certain, admiration for a band like, I don't know, like Disturbed, right? They're like a hard rock band. Every fucking Disturbed album, you know what you're going to get, right? And like there's a degree of, like, I admire that for a lot of reasons, but I also probably could not release like music like that, and yeah, totally. People, 100%, there are people who get in a room and they write a song and it sounds different and they're like, I need a hit. It happens a ton in this city because there's so many songwriters here and everybody is trying to like, get that hit tune. So like 100% artists, there's definitely a degree of truth to the whole, like, you changed your sound to be more popular because you need more money. And the truth is there's probably a lot of pressure on these artists from a lot of different places. And I wouldn't fault any songwriter or any artist from trying to find the thing that is commercially viable, because it's a tough gig. I mean, that's what this podcast is about, right? Like everybody's scraping through until they find the thing that other people like. However, I get much more inspired by the fact that there's so much weird stuff out there. Like there's so many things that are just weird as hell but are commercially successful, right? Like Primus and Reverend Horton Heat or whatever, and like metal was a thing and is like largely popular, like mathcore and fucking all like hip hop. And there's so many types of music that I might not listen to but are incredibly popular for people, that I believe that if you do the thing that you genuinely love and that you enjoy doing it, somebody else is going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm curious, like when after moving to Nashville, like obviously it is like a renowned musical city. Have you found it exceptionally competitive there? Like, is there what are the challenges that you faced in that respect, and any advice you'd give for other people thinking about making that move? Is like, when's the right time to do that, and what can they expect if they do that?
Yeah. That's funny.
Well, the first thing that you should know about Nashville is that a very popular saying is Nashville is a city where you can throw a rock and hit a musician. And it's 100% true. The person bagging your groceries is probably a musician. Your Uber driver, probably a musician. your bartender, most definitely a musician. So there's a lot of it. But I think the biggest thing is that there are also a lot of opportunities. You just have to take them. And when we first moved here, our our mindset was, we're going to say yes to everything until it works. Because you never know what opportunity is going to be the one that introduces you to the right person, or, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Nashville's done a really good job of branding itself as well, because there's such a it's Music City, USA, and there's such an industry presence here, and like half of the music in the world is published through this town. So like it's done a great job of that. But I would say the competitive side, a lot of it still is in that like old school like country thing, right? Because country music for a long time was the only thing that Nashville is known about up until like the 90s and early 2000s. And now you've got all these rock bands and like major artists and people who live here and are building studios here. And there's like actually a really strong, like a pop punk enclave here now. And it's still really easy to like get into those circles, and everybody opens you with welcome arms. To be honest, everybody welcomes you with open arms in all of the genres, but the competitive side of this town and like the very southern, like bless your heart kind of side of things is still, I would say, largely in like country and publishing deals, right? Because people, like Jennica said, there's just so many people fighting for so few spots. And so if you don't have the ability, if you are the type of artist or songwriter or, other industry slotted person who relies on a team and those opportunities, yeah, it's going to be incredibly competitive. But for us, we were like, let's build out a studio so we can make our own content. Like, let's do our own videos. Let's just hang out with our friends. Let's only write with people that we genuinely enjoy writing with, as opposed to writing with somebody so that we can tell other people, like, we wrote with this Grammy-winning songwriter. It's like, some of that is important, but also if the song blows, the song blows, Like, if you wrote a song with somebody that nobody else has heard of, but it becomes a hit, that's how most people in this town rise. Like, time after time after time, whether it's like that James Bay song was written and recorded here, that like launched his career, Maren Morris, like all these people write with their friends. And so they go back to writing what they like. They record with their friends. They bring their friends in to play guitar because they can't afford to pay, the $250 session musician. And that is typically what really like rises and then sticks. So that's inspiring.
That makes sense. Like when Emiliano kind of discovered you guys on Twitch, and he sent me the link to your Spotify album, it's been a fixture of mine and my wife's playlist ever since. So we've been very much making our way through the carrot and really enjoying it. Can you tell us about the new album? And obviously, it sounds like it took a lot of work to create it. So it'd be great to hear your process and how it came about.
Yes. Jennica, do you want to start while I go pee?
Yes.
Here's the thing, you guys. I'm tracking my fluids now, okay? I'm trying to drink a lot of water. This is water. It's just got a little bit of that Mio stuff in there. And I'm trying to lose some weight because I got fat during COVID. I say it's during COVID. I got fat before COVID. I just stayed fat during COVID. So anyways.
The least COVID can do is give you an excuse.
Right. We can cut this part out. We'll just take the mic straight in the bathroom if you want the whole experience. I'll be all right.
We'll cover it with a cheers.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of songs already done, and we knew that we wanted to do a new album kind of at the end of 2019. So in, I think, October and November, we were like, okay, when do we want to release a new album? Okay. And then we made a timeline. And we took the not old, but we took the songs that we had recorded, and we were like, okay, this is going to be this is like the first 4 songs. So we wrote with a theme in mind. And the theme was loosely based on what you know as the opening track, the short story called The Carrot. So we wrote The Carrot, like we wrote that short story, and kept that in mind as we wrote all of the other songs. So when COVID hit and we couldn't go anywhere and we couldn't go to work or whatever, we were just like, all right, well, let's write all the rest of the songs. Let's record the rest of the songs. Let's do this.
Yeah, everything she said. No,
Welcome back, Danny.
Thank you. For me,
about you.
it was well, I can't wait to hear all the things she said. For me, the whole record was, it started with the idea of like, you know, the idiom, the carrot, like you're chasing this thing that's always directly in front of you and it's always just out of reach. And we realized that like this entire album had a theme, but that the songs that we were really resonating with, some of which that dated back 5 years, like some songs on this record had their genesis when we were still in Austin, right? So it took us such a long time to finally put together and be really comfortable, honestly, confident enough in ourselves to make this record, right? Like you kind of have to either don't care or be very ballsy to, like I said, start an album with a 10-minute long short story, right? Because like that's going to lose a lot of people, but it's so important to us and to the record that we made that people listen to that and then experience the whole thing top to bottom. Like the end of the song, the end of the album essentially references that last song, the reprise to Stay Positive, basically references every other song on the record. And the whole thing is an arc. And when I started realizing that we could create these albums that more or less is a story arc, because like I said, I'm, you know, went to school for writing and spent a lot of time as a journalist. Like I like seeing things as an arc. Like all bets were off, and we just wrote and made whatever we felt, you know, fit our emotions at the time, but fit the story as well. And when you listen through, you know, like Life at the Bottom was meant as a, you know, a prelude to the song Make It Better. And that song couldn't have been possible until everything that went down in the US with all the, you know, civil unrest and the riots, and it's built over a track of audio clips of people peacefully protesting, and then the riot cops open fire on them, right? So it's like all of this stuff that went into the creation of this album could not have happened any other way at any other time. And that's what makes it special to me. And that's why, like, this record, to me, as much as I'm proud of everything else we've done, this to me is like the first 100% truly genuine Moonlight Social record. Like everything else we were kind of like maybe filtering a little bit, or, oh, I don't know if we can do this because we don't want to piss off this person and we're still trying to get a record deal. Now we're just like, I just want to fucking make enough money. I don't care where the money comes from. I want to make enough money making our music. And so we're going to make it as genuine as we possibly can.
You know, Jeremy, it's interesting that you just described a bit one of the songs in the carol, which is Make It Better. And, you know, in preparing this interview, one thing I put down, Make It Better is my favorite song. And I wanted to try to put down a bit of like my interpretation of the song, which is so far from what you just described. It's so much more like social political, like, I'm telling you what I wrote down. I wrote down, I make out that this is about a quite dysfunctional relationship that still has a lot of love to give, is the willing of working on issues and making it through. And one of the main part is Stay Down Here With Me, Life at the Bottom, Insecurities, Baby I Got Him, right? So I feel like it relates to what you were saying, but I feel like it's quite far off.
No, it's 100. What you just said is 100% true and valid in its own self. 100%. Like the song to me, when you listen to the song independent of the prelude, the Life at the Bottom, like it takes different meanings, and that's what I love about it. In fact, we were having a conversation with somebody. They're like, how do you feel about telling people what your songs? Oh, it was another Twitch streamer actually, the Slow Drag. If you know him. He's Austin. He lives here in Nashville. Great guy. But he was like, how do you feel about explaining the meanings behind your songs to people? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's up and down. I never want to tell somebody that their interpretation of our song is wrong unless they listen to a song and like, I interpreted this song to mean expose myself in public. And it's like, no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. But no, you are 100% right in your own way. Absolutely.
My favorite thing about a lot of the music that we write is that it can be interpreted in multiple ways. You know, we've written songs before where the two of us are interpreting the song in different ways. I
mean, the one that's coming out here at the end of the month, I feel like is that too. Like it could be a lot of things. Same with Holding Patterns. Like it is one thing. Like it is clearly, when you listen top to bottom, it is about something. But when you break it apart, you realize that you are projecting some of your own feelings and how it might help you emotionally. And it suddenly becomes about that. So Holding Patterns is a type of song where it could be like we were writing it from two different places, right? One was a romantic environment and one was a familial environment. And so either way, it doesn't change the fact that like the things this person are going through are potentially going to bring you down with them, and you don't know how long you can hold on to them before that happens.
I think I made another mistake. I fell in love with an earthquake all in the kind that rolls until your head breaks and leaves you shattered like nothing happened. I held on.
I mentioned "Make It Better" is definitely my favorite song, but there's many other I really enjoy, and there's 16 songs in this album. So I'll ask you guys the most infamous question you can ask to a musician, I think, which is, what's your favorite song?
What's your
in your
favorite
album?
But then if you're gonna ask the most infamous question, does that mean that we have to give the most infamous response, which is, each song is like a child and I could never pick my favorite song?
I'll be okay with that, yeah.
No, I mean, that's a cop-out answer too.
My mom has a favorite child. It's me.
There you go. Okay, well, what's your favorite child on this record?
My favorite song on this record. Can I have a tie?
Sure. I mean, there's 18 tracks and 16-ish. I mean, there's 17 songs, sort of. The last one's a song. I mean, it is, but yeah. Go for it.
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
That's so hard. I like them all for different reasons.
Yeah, I like them all for different reasons as well, which is, again, another cop-out answer. But here's what I think. My favorite song to play, the song I never get tired of playing so far, is Keeping Up with the Joneses. Because it's so straightforward. The chords are so simple. And every person who has heard that song, I feel like it has made them smile or made them a little bit like they resonate with it. And like, I love that part of it. An Ode to Humanity was my favorite one to produce because it was, a full orchestra, and we sat here in this room and did hours and hours of backup vocals to make the choir. And it's a rock opera, and it's just no holds barred. Like, so definitely my favorite one to produce. Know Me, I'm really glad that so many people like that song because I think it's one of our catchiest songs. I think Know Me and Make It Better would be the two songs that I would send to people if they're like impress me with this album, right? Because while I don't think they're necessarily like the most impressive songs from a production standpoint or the most complicated from writing or the hardest to play, I think they are a great example of what we love, which is like catchy music and genuine lyrics, And it's like this mix of alt. Like there are guitars involved, but the guitars aren't always the main instrument, and there's some distortion, but there's also a lot of clean sounds, and one of them has Jennica as lead and the other one has me as a lead. And so it's just like, I think those are two good examples of like, here's the sample platter.
I've thought about it more, and I think I have an answer.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I think my favorite song on The Carrot is Valleys and Peaks.
Oh, there you go.
I've also had a longer relationship with that song, though,
Sure.
so it might not be fair to the other songs.
Sure.
But from performing it to what it means to both of us personally, I think I still get chills listening to Valleys and Peaks.
There you go. It's a great song.
Amazing. And so we're talking about the album, and we'll have an intro to this podcast where we will direct all the folks to where they have to go to listen to it. But do you want to give us a bit of a rundown where people can find the album and can find you both? Because you have a lot of platforms. You use a Kickstarter to help support the creation of the album, if that's right.
Not this album. We have used Kickstarter in the past, but this album, honestly, we did for, I'm not going to say $0, but darn near it. Like we paid the guy who narrated the record, and we paid somebody to play cello on "Oh Mary Beth," and then everything else we did in here between the two of us.
Fantastic.
And we had our buddy drummed on one of the songs, one or two of the songs, two of them. Yeah. So like,
And the artwork
but he did it for free. The artwork I did for free as well.
for the panels for the short story.
Oh yeah, we did a short story for you. So let me just do it this way. We spent less than $1,000 making this record.
Nice.
Yeah. To answer your question, we have a lot of platforms. If I had to say one place that I would want people to go, honestly, it's to go to our website and download it for free. They can do it. They can download the whole thing for free. They can throw us a couple bucks if they want. It's a pay what you want campaign. But the reason I would want them to do it there is because it comes with some, stories behind the songs. There's like a bio. It's, I think, a better place for, right there. It's a better place for people to like get more of the story. But if they're like only listen to streaming or whatever, then just listen on your favorite platform, wherever you like listening. The biggest thing for us, and the biggest thing for any band our size who's we're close to having that, that moment where we finally get to say, like, this is our job, is just word of mouth. Like people, it's a great compliment. And I appreciate the sentiment behind the compliment, but people are always like, why aren't you more famous? Why, like, you, or even on Twitch, right? I mean, the other day on Twitch, we were like, you guys should have way more people watching you. And it's like, thank you. I appreciate what you're saying. Sometimes it's out of my control. The biggest thing is just like, tell your friends. So tell your friends. That's, like download the record, share it with them, tell them to share it on social media. Like whatever you do, just find the thing you love about it and tell your friends, and hopefully they'll love something about it as well.
I was, so for the people that are not watching on YouTube, we're just sharing the website. And as Jeremy mentioned, you can go and name your prize to get all the tracks, a special biography that I want to ask more about, track by track stories, which sounds very exciting, the lyrics, the album artwork, and a 10 hours recording of Jeremy drinking water.
Yeah.
With pee breaks or without?
With pee breaks. Oh yeah, the whole thing. Unedited. raw unedited audio.
That's it. That's the carrot.
There it is.
Cool. Tell us about the single. Which track is it going to be, and when's it launching? Oh,
the new one, the new tune coming out. So it's called "What Do You Want From Me." It's not on the record. It's a brand new song, and we started writing it when we both got diagnosed with COVID, actually, which is crazy. So this, I don't know if you guys heard that, but this dog has got some thoughts. Oh, look at that! Another puppy. Look at that. Ebony, what do you think of this puppy?
Emily to say hello to the dog.
Hello, Emily. I thought Emily was a person. I thought you were going to get a person, but Emily's a dog. That's so much better.
She always looks at me with disdain when I disappear into this room.
Yeah.
So at least you can see I'm doing it for the greater good of doghood.
Yeah. Well, you guys, Em, I know you've seen it enough. These dogs in and out all the time during our stream. They like the attention. So, but yeah, so we started writing "What Do You Want From Me" while we were both diagnosed with COVID. I had this guitar riff. I had some chorus ideas. And it's the first song, two things. So it's the fastest we've ever turned around a song, meaning now they're full on playing in the middle of our podcast. Sorry, you guys. We're pros. We're real pros. Okay, so it was the fastest turnaround song, meaning it took us the least amount of time from inception to release. So November to the end of January, end of November to the end of January, which is really, what is that, 2 months, right? And most of it took us a month to finish writing and recording it. We uploaded it at the beginning of January. They just ask for like a month leadway of time when you upload music. So that was really cool. It was really exciting for us to be able to do that, especially when you consider the carrot. Some of it took like 8 years. So, talk about a flip. And then the other thing, which you can talk about, is how far apart we were when we started writing it.
Yeah, so I was in Texas and Jeremy was here in Nashville, and we were texting back and forth, and he was like, hey, I've got an idea for a song. I'm gonna I'm gonna do like a rough cut and I'm gonna send it to you. Let me know what you think. So I got the rough cut and immediately I spiraled. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Like I need to write words right now. And it was kind of nice because it gave me something to focus on that was not, bad stuff.
She's literally sitting in Texas for 2 weeks surrounded by nobody except the people in the house because she's isolating. And instead of, her wedding happening, she's sitting there on the couch.
Just binge watching Netflix.
And, so writing this song was super, super therapeutic for that.
Yeah. And we tried to find ways for like Jeremy to play and for me to sing, but we couldn't figure out the technology. So like I came up with like a rough draft of what I wanted the lyrics to be, what the idea was in my head, and we bounced that back and forth, but we couldn't do anything until we got back into the same city because we didn't want to get too far along in the process and then realize when we got back together, like, oh, we were thinking different things.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's definitely the most pop punk leaning song that we have, but it's still got a lot of that just general like alt pop rock vibe. That's it. People always ask us, what do you call yourself? At this point, it's just like alt pop rock. I don't know. What would you guys call us? You probably have a different interpretation of genres over where you all than what we do in the U.S.
I would say alternative.
Alternative.
Sure. Yeah. But honestly, my understanding of musical genres is very limited. So
that's probably good because it's dumb. They're dumb. Genres are dumb. It's like we don't have to go to Tower Records anymore and search through like pop, rock, R&B, rap. Like that was it.
Yeah, I felt like put everything in a bucket is difficult right now, and we have algorithms that figures out everything anyway. I like to think that you're like rock is the main genre if I have to pinpoint it, because I feel like I've heard you singing on Twitch, guys, and it just gave me that vibe. Like the first thing I thought was like, I want them to sing a Tenacious D song. That's the first thought that I had, and that's what happened, right? So yeah absolutely.
That's funny.
So
Jennica does a mean Kyle, so that's good.
Me and my brother Kyle here. That's me. That's my input.
Yeah.
Awesome. So very much looking forward for this single. What I feel like what everyone wants to know is like, what's a new year, new me, we say. What's next for you both after this single? Do you have 2021 figured out completely? What's next?
Oh man, does anybody have 2020 figured out?
I think considering that
not here in the United States.
Yeah, right. I think considering that live music is probably not coming back until towards the end of the year, we just assumed that whenever it is able to come back, that it would probably be hard to get shows because everybody's going to want to get out and play like immediately. So I think this year we're going to continue in the same vein as last year and just try to create content, whether that be writing new songs, like a new record, or, maybe we can go back to doing we've done a couple of cover EPs in the past. We were doing it by decades. So we had a 80s, 90s, and a 2000s one.
We started the 2000s one, but we haven't finished it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we could go back to that, but I think we're going to focus on just creating more because we have the ability to.
Yeah. For me, I like short-term goals a lot more than long-term goals. It's hard for me to think about even, July right now. But we already have a general theme and an idea for this record. When we were putting out this new single, we realized, it's like, okay, we can either put out a single and make a deluxe version of The Carrot, or we can start on a whole new body of work. And we said, let's start on a whole new body of work. There's no timeline for that. It might not be this year. It might be next year. But we already have kind of a general idea that we want to follow through with that. Music videos for sure. I've actually been working on a short thriller kind of short film that is actually going to include both of us and will go up kind of on our Moonlight Social channel, even though it's not going to be, a official Moonlight Social thing. It's going to be something that I do that we're both in that includes our music. So it's still very much part of our world and, you know, our collective brain. Like I told her the idea the other week, and she had some good notes. And so like, that's like, you know, the next 3 to 5 months. Like that's what I can grasp. Anything beyond that, who knows? Lots of Twitch. Lots of Twitch for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys put out, and I'm definitely gonna try and retrieve the Twitch details from M, so I can jump on the next one. And yeah, I'm dying to see the Kara costumes. Is that a regular fixture on Twitch, or is that?
So it was for a very long time. Now it's going to be like a more of a special occasion type situation. So sometimes we'll wear them and sometimes we won't. But for a long time, it was like constant, and I got hot and sweaty.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a sweat machine. That costume.
Yeah.
They do not breathe. Honestly, so here's what I would love to happen. I would love for us to be able to go back on the road, tour this record, and have enough money to actually make like a custom Carrot costume that we could both wear for like a song, right? Like I would want it to be like a last part of our show, like in the encore, and I would want the suit to not be what I'm wearing now, because what I'm wearing now is not meant to be worn as much as I've worn it. That would be fun for me.
Just sharing
Oh, good, yeah.
Jeremy Twitch channel. So twitch.tv / Moonlight Social, and you can catch them live or with some VODs. And this is it looks really hot, that costume, to be honest.
I've got the headphones on underneath it too, because I found that was the only way that I could do it in case somebody requested a live learn and we had to listen to it. There's no way to, you know, gracefully put headphones on, so I just have to wear the headphones the entire time underneath the costume.
That's some dedication.
Yeah, it's hot.
So I feel like one last question is really because you guys talk about really getting out of your comfort zone, really like in a way like seeking discomfort, going to Nashville and trying, and you mentioned trying anything that come your way. And in a way you kind of answered this question, but I want to maybe circle back to it as what advice would you give to aspiring musicians, especially in this climate?
Mm-hmm. Well, as cliche as it sounds, I do think that, like, you know, being there used to be the number one thing was like just show up, right? Like just go to the networking event or like write the song, like just do the thing. That was always the cliche. And now there's not really any being there, but there is still, like, the new version of being there is like getting in front of a computer camera and playing, even if it's to, you know, very few people, or trying to put yourself out in a way that helps you break down some of your own internalized walls. And then the other thing that I would really say is just like, again, a little cliche, but it's so true. Like, make things, whether you're a musician or a video maker or a digital artist or whatever, comedian, like, make things that you would be comfortable with doing the rest of your life. Like, things that you enjoy so much that you wouldn't mind playing it night in and night out, or performing it night in or night out. Because, like, if you're lucky, that will be the case. You know, if you're lucky, there will be that piece of music that you play the rest of your life. And so many people are trying to chase trends or write to what they hear on the radio or whatever. And it's like, all that stuff was written a while ago. You know, like, there's no such thing as a trend in music anymore, which is great. There are patterns, but there's no such thing as like, people will definitely like this thing because it is this thing. Just write things that you genuinely enjoy, things that you genuinely love, things that you wouldn't mind playing the rest of your life. Because if you do it enough and you show up enough, eventually that'll be the case. What about you? Drink lots of water?
Yeah. Now, take care of yourself. I think that a lot of people forget in the hustle of it all, people forget to take care of themselves. And that, physically, mentally, emotionally, like, it's a hard industry. And it took me several years to kind of get a grip on the fact that like not everybody's gonna like your music. That's okay, because somebody will.
Right here, buddy. Right here.
But you got to take care of yourself, and that means working on whatever it is that you're doing. If you're a singer, work on your singing. If you're a guitar player, keep working on it. Like, you're never gonna be as good as you can get. Like, you can always get better, but also take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And don't let anybody tell. That's the thing, is that like people can tell you like what you should be doing, but like they don't know. Nobody knows.
We're all just running around here trying to figure it out.
And like, you know, talking about being genuine or whatever, like if you do something, if you create something that you truly believe in, like that's what matters. Because if I were trying to write a song, like a Miranda Lambert song or a Maren Morris song, I would sing it and people would be like, that's not you. That's her. So you have to figure out like who you are and then do that to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's such a good advice, Jennica, especially in this climate. I feel like everyone is overlooking how much is important to accept the fact, like not accept the fact that this is, you know, normal, right? Because we're approaching like almost 1 year that we're, you know, facing these situations in the world. And I feel like people are starting to think like, oh, well, you know, it is what it is. But like, it's not like, it's not what it's not, but it is what it is. But you should not dismiss like that, right? Like you should look after yourself, because you know, your body, your mind doesn't adapt even just because 1 year has passed. We're social creatures, and we need you know, interaction with other people. We need to be out. We're not made to stay in a cage, even if it's a luxurious cage, or because we have food and we're fine. But I think like it's a great advice. Awesome. Mike, do you have a...
I just want to say thank you. Like, I think obviously we've reached the hour mark, and we're very wary of taking up too much of your time, and we really appreciate all that you shared with us. I think looking after yourself is a great message to kind of to leave out there. I think you're absolutely right, and to echo what Em said, especially in today's situation. So thank you so much, guys. It's been really exciting having you on.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Twitch wins again, man.
Hurrah.
You guys are amazing. So go check out Moonlight Social at moonlightsocialmusic.com. And disregard what Jeremy said. Go and buy the music, support them, give them a lot of money. They deserve them all. Go on Twitch, twitch.tv/Moonlight Social.
I'm a little fucked up in the head, right? Feeling like a deer stuck in your headlights. You are gonna blow right through me. Every now and then you say you're coming round to pull me out the shit and find some higher ground. Who are you kidding?
People like you look at people like me and see a project. You got your Tony Robbins eyes and you swear you'll change my mind. Well, here's a prospect.
Stay down here with me. Life at the bottom, insecurities. Baby, I got 'em. Why wait to be down?